today we are talking to some people in our community, and I just appreciate you guys tuning in to watch the forum. I'm your host, Ashley Tate, here with our co-host, Christy Largent, and we have Jennifer Moniz as our first guest to Alternatives to Violence. She's the Community Outreach Coordinator, and I am so happy that you're here.
Thank you for having us.
There's a lot to dive into today.
Yeah.
So
let's start with the basics. What is Alternative to Violence, and where are you located?
Alternatives to Violence is a shelter. We also do a lot of services, but we help families of domestic violence in Red Bluff. So we're at 1805 Walnut Street in Red Bluff. We offer emergency shelter services. We also now offer transitional housing for women, men, children of domestic violence. We've also expanded our services now that we have an on-site legal team, so we can do restraining orders, help with custody. We're starting to take on custody. We also have a counseling center, so we can provide much needed counseling for victims and also children, because children are so greatly affected.
absolutely.
And definitely need counseling. We've also branched out to take in CSEC, which is commercial sexual exploitation of children. And that is a problem here in the North State. And
So we may understand exactly, all the things that you said, but how would someone who might need these services, how do they know that they might qualify for your services?
well, there is information on our website, which is www.atvRB.org. But basically, it's just making a phone call. We have a 24-hour helpline that you can call the 24-hour line anytime, and they will guide you to services. You just let them know what's going on. You can also go to the website. We have a quick escape, because that is a problem too, that a lot of people have trouble finding help, because obviously if somebody comes in and they're seen on the website, that could be an issue.
Absolutely.
So there's a quick escape on the website, but if you just call and let them know what's going on, they'll make an appointment, and we have services ready and available to help.
I don't know what that means. There's a quick escape on the website. What does that mean?
Quick escape is, sometimes it is, people don't really realize how hard it is sometimes to get help, to reach out, to make a phone call. When is a safe time to do that? There's so much control that goes with domestic violence that just finding the time or resources. So the quick escape, when you hit that on our website, will immediately take you back just to a Google homepage. So it's not recognized where you've been on the website.
Oh, okay. So like if your abusive spouse walked in and you were on it, you could hit that and it would immediately clear the screen.
Correct.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah,
So think about that.
Is that crazy?
It is.
Yeah.
There's a
Yeah.
lot that goes on with that. So
Can they just walk in?
absolutely.
Okay.
You can walk in onto our admin office on Walnut Street anytime, and we have staff on site to be able to facilitate services.
Okay.
Wow.
Is that pretty common?
It is common.
Okay.
It is common, yes.
Yeah.
And so how do people hear about you?
We are trying to get out into the community as much as possible right now. That's actually my job. I
Yes.
am at every health fair, every farmer's market, anywhere we can get our name out is what we're trying to do, because I worked the farmer's markets in Red Bluff this year, and it's amazing how many people still didn't know that we were there.
Oh,
And I
wow.
guess until you need the services, how would you know?
Right.
But with Red Bluff having such a high rate of domestic violence, you'd be surprised once people open up. It's a neighbor or a friend or a coworker.
So can someone refer them to you?
Confidentiality is a big part of what we do. So what we try to do is get our brochures out, information out, so that way at least you can be able to hand information to a friend and tell them to call.
Okay.
So
how do volunteers work with you? How do you use volunteers?
Volunteers are our glue that holds everything together for us. So there's several different ways. We need volunteers on our 24-hour hotline, which is 528-0226, to throw that out there. Basically, you go through a 40-hour training, and it is a domestic violence training, so you are very well trained on how to deal with these situations. And so we need volunteers on the hotline. We also need volunteers that can be first responders. So like you said, when a woman walks in with her children, that we're able to provide services. We have legal advocates that go with our victims to court, and they don't represent them, but they are there just to be a supportive presence there, to sit with you and feel like you're not alone when you're going through these things.
And to understand what's going on too. I mean,
because it's scary, and you may be sitting across from your perpetrator in court. So to have somebody there that is supporting you is just absolutely amazing. We also started last year, we started with Camp Hope, which is an evidence-based camp. I know they do it in Shasta County. We now are so pleased to have it in Tehama County, and we work with children of trauma. And it's an evidence-based camp, and the kids go to camp to feel like they're not alone and to learn how to have hope for a future. And so we need camp counselors. We need 17 to 24-year-olds that want to go be with our kids and show them a brighter future.
What is an evidence-based camp?
So the University of Oklahoma, and it is for their applied research for nonprofits, actually did a study on Camp Hope, because Camp Hope America is the overseeing entity, and to show how children need hope and how the camp affects these kids, to come out, they ask around campfire, where did you find hope today? And because a lot of these kids, it's hard to find hope, and so they use figures in history, people that had overcome adversity, to, doesn't matter where you came from, you can have a bright future.
Absolutely.
So
yeah, and it's those types of activities and times that change their outlook on life.
Exactly,
So, yeah,
exactly. That's
huge.
exactly it.
That's
so,
great.
Yes, and then we also have events. October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, so we do a lot of community outreach during that month. We have a candlelight walk every year where we pay tribute to, or acknowledge, I should say, people that have lost their lives to domestic violence and those that are still going through it and maybe haven't come forward. We have a trivia night, which is our big fundraiser that we do. And so people buy tables and they dress up, and it's a whole costume contest and theme. And we couldn't do those things without volunteers.
Absolutely,
So we couldn't do 3/4 of what we do without volunteers. They're very much appreciated.
And how much time would someone need to donate if they wanted to volunteer?
It's anything. We can do 2 hours. If somebody just wants to give 2 hours, there's always something, even down to clerical, or like I said, where I'm community outreach, helping me just stay at the farmer's market and set up and clean up, or if they really want to be involved, working in shelter and being on that hotline. So there is a gamut of, if you have an hour or you want to do 40 hours a week, we're gracious for any help that we receive.
So you have an actual shelter building?
We do. It is at a non-disclosed location for security. So, but we actually have emergency shelter, so you can come in with your children. And that's another thing. We need shelter help, and even somebody that maybe wants to watch children. A lot of our women that come in have children, and they're full families. So they need help, because when they're out, getting counseling or looking for employment or things like that, they have children.
Yeah.
And so,
babysitting.
Exactly, babysitting even is something, it seems very simple, but it's very much needed.
So how are you branching into the child trafficking? Because it sounds like your main focus has always been on the domestic violence recovery, so to speak.
So a lot of it is education, and again, educating the community on what are the signs. We actually are doing a lot of movie screenings and things like that, documentaries, so that way parents can come. Let's face it, our kids are smarter than we are when it comes to technology. We're never going to get ahead of them. But there are signs, there are things that you can look for, and especially with the internet, to keep your kids safe. And so we're trying just to do a lot of community education. We're partnering with law enforcement, CPS. We're all working together to really stop sex trafficking, and that's basically what it boils down to.
And you can find those videos, where can you find any of those videos?
If you go to our Facebook page with Alternatives to Violence in Red Bluff, or again the ATVRB.org, we do host all those events, the information for those on the website.
Okay, that's great.
So you're not in competition with things like One Safe Place, or
no, the different counties. We are Tehama County, and so we definitely work hand in hand. Back and forth. We do reach out with them. We are in communication, but we serve Tehama County, so Corning, Red Bluff, Las Molinas, those areas.
It's your region.
Correct.
Now, what if someone has been in a domestic violence situation before? Maybe now they're homeless, and they come into your. Do you ever turn anyone away?
There are requirements for being in, and we try to very much assess every situation. It's not a cookie cutter. I mean, there is no one story. Everybody's story is a little different. So we do everything we can to provide any kind of services that we can to help people. Also, the statistics it's 6 to 8 times that women go back and get out and go back and get out. It's not always a one time.
6 to 8 times before they finally leave?
Before
Or
they
get
leave
free.
permanently, but there's so many things that people don't realize, even financial control.
Oh, yeah.
You don't realize that a
Oh,
lot of
yeah.
times they don't even have control of finances.
Right.
So how are you supposed to leave when you
Right.
have no money?
Right.
So
Right.
it takes a lot, and maybe you can't find a job right away, and then what do? So there's just so much more that people don't realize, and that's also where the counseling is so important. We're so thankful, and children, to try to stop the cycle of abuse. Children are so greatly affected by domestic violence. It's changing the climate of Tehama County, and we're spending a lot of time helping children right now.
Good.
That's good. That's
So,
Good.
yeah.
That's really rewarding.
It is.
Yeah, break the cycle.
That
right?
is
That's what they
exactly.
say,
We're
right?
in the
You have to break
schools.
that cycle.
We have a teen dating violence prevention.
Oh,
we're in the
good.
high schools, the middle schools, trying to teach kids just to have healthy relationships, healthy boundaries, so that we, what they're maybe seeing at home is not
Repeated.
Right.
So the website again is ATVRB,
Yes, correct. www.atvRB.org.
like Alternatives to Violence, Red Bluff.
Redbluff.org. Correct.
.org.
Yes.
So that's important that it's .org. And if people want to come volunteer, the best way to get in touch with you?
It's just to give us a call, and that's the 528-0226, and let them know that you'd like to be a volunteer. And we have an application that they thought we do background checks on everybody. So
What's your
just to make
biggest
sure-
need right now?
A hotline. We definitely need people on our hotline.
So they'd have to be trained.
They would have to
Yeah.
be trained, but it is in the fall and in the spring. We do
Okay.
the 40-hour training.
Okay.
But hotline, it's a lot of times, like I said, you never know when you're going to get the call. So a lot of
Yeah.
times our calls come in at 2 in the morning or 3 in the morning, and so we definitely need people on the hotline.
And so you just serve, and so you're just Tehama County, right?
Correct.
Okay. Everything
Okay.
surrounding.
Yes.
So, wow, thank you, Jennifer, for
Thank
coming
you
on.
both
This was
for
so
having us.
interesting.
I really appreciate
God bless you
it.
for your work. You
Thank
guys are doing
Thank
amazing
you.
work.
Thank you to our volunteers. That's what
Yes.
I'd like to say.
All right, well, we'll be right back with the second half of our show.
We're back, and we are talking to volunteers in this segment, and really honoring kind of their purpose and what they do in the community. And today we're talking to Ronnie Campbell and Kay Cohen, and they're two volunteers at Enloe Medical Center. And there's a lot to dive into, so we're
Yes,
gonna get right into
because they're not just ordinary volunteers,
No.
they're like volunteer extraordinaire.
Yes.
So, Kay, why don't you start us off by telling us what are the ways that people can get involved?
There are many ways that people can get involved with volunteering at Enloe Hospital. We have the front desk as an option where we have a policy where we take every guest that comes in and we try to escort them to where their location is.
Oh, nice.
Whether it's radiology or a test or to go see a patient. So we have an every guest every time policy. So we want to have contact with all those that come into the hospital. We have a person in emergency room. We have a surgery liaison person that helps the people in the waiting room get information about the people that are having same-day surgery. We have guest services, people that are on actually each floor, and they are sort of the host of each floor, and we'll take people to the rooms.
fantastic.
We have people in the cancer center. We have dogs that come in and do comfort and some help with making patients
Therapy
feel
and-
therapy with dogs. There's a myriad of things that we offer. My position is called a patient ambassador, and my particular description and training was to be able to walk into the room of a patient, ascertain what kind of needs that they may have, see if I can make them comfortable in some way. Sometimes it's just adjusting the temperature, adjusting the light in the room, offering them a washcloth. I can't do anything medical, and would not be appropriate to do so. But to meet their emotional needs, their comfort needs.
And that's huge.
Yeah.
Sometimes people come into the hospital and they have no advocate at all.
Right.
And I do feel like people coming into, I used to work in the medical field and in X-ray, and so I mean those things are huge. And you're saying you can't do the medical stuff, but it is the washcloth and it is the temperature that they can't They don't have anyone to tell.
If they're freezing, it's going to be awfully hard for them to get well.
Yes.
Because they're so uptight, right? Because they're just so uncomfortable.
So we offer them warm blankets and we advocate for them. In the role of patient ambassador, we also advocate for them. So if they need services after they leave the hospital, we can connect them with the various services that Enloe has to offer.
That's great.
Enloe has a huge reservoir of opportunities and services that they can offer patients as they leave the hospital. So we try to be an advocate for them to move them onto the next step.
So, Ronnie,
Yes.
what is it that you do at the hospital as a volunteer?
Nothing. No, I'm kidding. I just sit looking pretty.
That works too.
And she does.
Eye
That's
candy.
easy.
I have been with the hospital for about a volunteer for about 18 years, and I've gone through each program. I've helped start programs. It's one of the best things I have ever done in my entire life. I just absolutely love it, every minute of it. I think, as Kay was saying, the Patient Ambassador Program is so important. Every volunteer is very important. The one thing I wanted to add, Kay, was our cuddler, baby cuddler program, which we're just rolling out. And I think that's going to be amazing. So people
The cuddler program, what is
cuddling
that?
little babies. Unfortunately, we have the terrible opioid problem. So when new babies are born, they really need cuddling. And we've just rolled that out. So it's great on my side to be watching all these different programs, the volunteer program grow since I first started 18 years ago. And it really is exciting. At the moment, I do the front desk, the guest services that Kay was talking about, and I escort people, as she says, every person, every time. And that's part of it. And I think that's basically, I'm always recruiting. Because it's such a wonderful, wonderful hospital to work with. The people appreciate us so much. They don't realize that we are the ones really having the fun. So we appreciate the accolades, but it just is an incredible way to give back to the community, and wonderful people, the staff, our boss, everybody just appreciates us so, and it's a great job.
Well, speaking of accolades, you have to tell us about this huge recognition and honor that you just received.
It actually, that one was a little while ago. It was the Daily Points of Light. George Bush brought out this volunteer program awarding volunteers. And I could not believe it. I was nominated. Rosanna put over my little story, and that was one. And then I've just received the Plane Tree Awards, and I really, really enjoy that. But they don't realize just how much I enjoy what I do.
Yes.
So this is just an added little. But it's a great, great honor. I've just been very, very lucky, and it's wonderful that I'm able to give the time. I have the time to give, and what better way to do it than have the fun? Thank you for asking. Thank you.
So when you're recruiting people, what do you tell them?
Well, it's really quite easy because there are so many different areas that people can contribute to. And you'll notice that everybody has something to give. And of course, I tell them what fun it is, because it really is the fun part.
I mean, honestly, it's fun, but you're in a hospital. I mean, how can that be fun? And that's kind of what I'm thinking. How can that be fun to be around all these sick people?
And you know, that's a very, very good question. It's exactly what I thought when I first thought of joining, because I'd never really been in a hospital setting. I don't know about UK, but when you're helping people, it just takes all the ugly thoughts of what goes on in a hospital away, and everybody's so appreciative. A patient is so appreciative.
Yes.
The Patient Ambassador Program is a perfect example. Kay visits very ill people, and just being there, being for the family, it really is not a difficult. And I'd never been in a hospital setting before, so it was really new.
That's very interesting. No, I don't think we got at all to how you both ended up volunteering. When I think of, I would say, our lives right now with 2 young children and all this, I can't think of when I would have the time to, I can barely make it anywhere. So I'm wondering, how did you guys get to this point where you're saying, you know what, I have time and I'm going to volunteer in here specifically?
Absolutely. Would you like to go first, Kay?
Sure.
Okay.
I retired from 38 years in education, and it was a wonderful career. I had a lovely, it was a privilege to be able to teach at the secondary level. But as soon as I retired, within a very short period of time, I realized that I missed the human connection. And so what I find valuable about volunteering is walking in the room and looking in the eyes of a patient and knowing that either he needs or she needs comfort or they need sense of humor. Yeah. Because a sense of humor in a hospital is always a good thing as well. So really trying to be there and figure out what it is that they need that moment at that time.
Wow.
So it just drew you in.
That's a lot of pressure.
And provide it.
Yeah.
Provide it. Yeah. We do walk away at the end of the day. You don't leave patients, you take them with you, but at least it's a very gratifying feeling that you have done what you can, as minimal as that may be, as a washcloth on the forehead.
And how about you? How did you decide 18 years ago
I
to start?
very luckily arrived in Chico and able to retire. I have this strange accent, which is originally South African.
We love it.
And thank you. And South Africa, we were working, and when we came to America, of course, I want to just point out that while I was in South Africa anyway, there was no such thing as hospital volunteering. So when we arrived and found Chico and arrived in Chico, I joined a group called the Newcomers Club. And it was quite funny because somebody said, "Wouldn't you like to join this women's club?" And I said, "Are you joking?" And I went to my first meeting, and it so happened that a lady was there seeking volunteers for Enloe, and I thought, well, this is something I could try. And it literally was from listening to her, it was something that was open, I was open for, and I walked in and I've never turned back, and I'm able to do so because we had just retired from business, so it was amazing.
So if someone's listening and watching this and they think, gosh, I could probably do that, what would be their next steps? What should they do?
They can contact the Enloe Volunteer Program. We have a huge, we have our own building, and it's a very large program. And so you can go through the central Enloe telephone line, get in contact with the volunteer services, and we'll certainly let you know the next steps.
So just call the Enloe Hospital and ask for the volunteer services?
You could do that. We also have a website at Enloe website, enloe.org. And in there, when you go to that, you'll see that there's a place for volunteering. Click on that, gives you all what we do, little stories about us, or as you say, call the Enloe.
No, I don't know if we have just a little bit of time.
2 minutes.
Okay, 2 minutes. Really quick. So as someone who might be interested in the Baby Cuddler program, do they do some sort of matching with your personality, or do you get to just go in and say, I want to do this, and then they just put you there, or how does that work?
Great question, Gaki. Great question.
Actually, we do interviews on people. And one of the things I wanted to make sure that we made clear is that Enloe doesn't just throw people into a hospital and come off the street and you go into the hospital.
That's what
Yes, thank you for asking that question. Perfect. We have a tremendous training that goes in. To apply for my job, I had to have 2 letters of recommendation, a letter of application, passed my fingerprint at DOJ. Wow. I went through 4 months of training and job shadowing, and so Enloe does a very thorough job of vetting their volunteers, and they also make sure that you are a good fit with where you're aiming to go. But so the Cuddler program is an intensive care program. There's a considerable amount of training that goes along.
And so how long would that training take?
Sometimes it takes months. I started in August and September, and I wasn't cut loose on my own until December.
I love it, cut loose.
I was finally ready to go.
As you can see, there's a lot of laughter, a lot of joy that happens in what would typically be thought of as a kind of a sad time. And you guys are really turning it around for people. So God bless you. Thank you for your hard work and your loving care. I know you're blessing families everywhere. You blessed us. Thank you. What a great show we had today. And thanks for watching as usual. We love having you here with us on the forum. And we'll look forward to seeing you again next week right here.